Okay, so we are here with Jack from White Novels. Jack, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your band?
Yeah, so we are a five-piece kind of alt indie rock band. Influences similar to the likes of like Delamitri, but then like I guess a lot of the stuff that we've brought out so far has been such a range, from like acoustic right through to kind of synth pop and progressive kind of stuff, because we always want to like figure out where we want to go with things. So yeah, we're a five-piece band based all over Scotland. Stirling, Motherwell, Edinburgh, Dumfries, Glasgow. So
So representing all of Scotland then.
represent all of Scotland.
Excellent. Have you got anything exciting that you can tell us about that you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, so we've currently kind of in the back work side of stuff got California, which is our next single, which should be coming out like pretty soon. We recorded it back in November, but then obviously due to restrictions and stuff like that, we didn't feel it was right to release something like that without maybe having like a promo show or just kind of to have the buzz about the full thing and be giving it our all rather than a kind of half-hearted thing.
Yeah, it's not the same if you don't have
Nah.
that big gig at the end of it.
It's definitely not.
So I have a bit of a deep question for you.
Yeah.
Out of all the songs that you've ever written, what one do you think means the most to you?
I think definitely like California, and the reason for that is just kind of the story behind it. Do you want to know about the story?
Of course.
Yeah, so the story behind California is basically like everyone else in the world once had an app called Tinder. It's like that ex that you don't want to speak about, basically. But yeah, I had been speaking to this girl who was studying in Edinburgh. She initially told me she was here for like her full degree, so I was like, not bad. So basically ended up on a date, and we were like we kept talking, and then she would like disappear for a bit and then come back.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turned out like the full time that I was seeing her, she had a boyfriend.
Oh.
Which I was away seeing King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard at the Barrowlands, and basically like she turned around to me and she was like, I need to tell you something. I was like, what is it? And she's like, Payson Nose. And I was like, who on earth is that? Like, no idea. So yeah, I think it was just the fact that I was like 18. I was 19 at the time actually, and I just felt like quite naive, and it was probably like my first time really having something like that maybe affected me in terms of a relationship side of stuff. So probably that one, because I felt kind of sad when I wrote it. I know like that's obviously pure depressing and everything, but yeah, I think that's the one that has the best story or best meaning behind it, for sure.
Okay, so what's your favourite one to perform?
Well, funnily enough, I've not played a live gig yet.
Very true.
But definitely, like in terms of like studio side of stuff, probably to perform would once again be California.
Okay.
And I think it's just because of the fact that it started as a song that I wrote in my living room, and then we took it to the full band, and it kind of progressed from there, and then people added in their parts and stuff like that. And I think the fact that it's got so many different elements, like where the music drops out and it's just vocals and then straight back into it, like the good old pop punk. So it's probably California for sure.
Oh, that's great. So lockdown's obviously been pretty crappy for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But is there anything that's kind of struck out for you as an artist that you've found quite beneficial? Like, have you found yourself being more creative or anything like that?
Yeah, I think like it's been a weird mix, because I had like stints where I was like really creative like at the very beginning, but I think eventually it just kind of did take its toll, because I would tend to write about like say like experiences with people, or even just bad experiences, and because of the fact that I wasn't really out and about, then I wasn't really engaging with people and getting these experiences.
Yeah.
But I think beneficial wise, in the sense that I've been able to kind of focus on what I want to do with music, and not kind of jump about, say like playing in 7 or 8 bands at once, and just trying to focusing, and definitely even just like selling equipment and upgrading stuff, to make sure that once gigs are back, you're kind of back on the road with stuff.
Yeah, so you're totally ready to go. Okay, so do you feel like the Scottish music scene is supportive and inclusive?
I think in many ways the Scottish music scene is supportive and inclusive, because if you look at it from kind of a bystander or someone that doesn't really know much about the Scottish music scene, then yeah, you would say there's such a variety in terms of genre and in terms of like ethnicity and like gender and
Yeah.
kind of even the likes of acts now bringing in like drag and like as they say female fronted, but it's just bands.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think the inclusive side of things is coming to the forefront of the music scene, but I think maybe not in the best ways it could be. I think there's still a lot of sort of bad things going on in terms of, I'm not sure if there's like a music side of thing where people from say like the East End of Glasgow or the North of Glasgow, where there aren't these like music projects or music schemes. Say for example, like in Paisley you've got like Brick Lane and stuff like that, which has been brilliant on like councils like that putting funding into projects. And I think that's maybe where there's an issue of inclusivity lies. It's more the kind of, I'm trying to think, like music poverty in a sense, and like underfunded in schools and stuff like that, because you go to schools over, like I went to a school over in the West End, and like a lot of the schools over there had really good music departments, but then it was like you go to like my local school and it was just absolutely falling to bits, underfunded, and nobody really cared about it. So I think it's more in that sense, but I think it's about striking that balance of not forcing the inclusivity by putting too much effort into it and making it too obvious, like, oh, we are now being inclusive. I think it's about being proportionate and also representative of like the full music community, but not doing it just to suit norms or fashion or kind of culture that's coming about. It needs to, if say for example with the women in music side of stuff, that needs to continue, but it needs to continue naturally and not to be forced for like a year or two to stay in fashion. It needs to like
it needs to keep going.
It needs to keep going, and it's about grassroots stuff, getting young people involved in music, and in particular not kind of doing that school norm where it's like guys in a band, girls playing classical music. It's about breaking down those norms and really, as I say, starting it from a grassroots level. Yeah,
definitely. I know that the Bungalow have been really great with that.
Yeah,
they've been getting lots of young people involved with music.
Like Paisley and Renfrewshire. Like I was thinking about this on the train over. Like it is just amazing. Like the acts and the kind of support that they've got, and even things like Loud and Proud and stuff like that. Like Tommy McRory, I think.
Yeah, Tommy and Alan are doing one.
Like I used to come over to Paisley to do guitar lessons with Tommy because it was the closest place for people in the East End of Glasgow, and that I think that's, you've got a lot of good music scenes. But I think it's about expanding that and making sure that you're, say for example, if Glasgow bands or like promoters and stuff like that could go out into schools and inspire young people to get involved in music, I think that would be particularly important.
Yeah, that's what happened with me. There was an organisation called Behind the Noise.
Yeah.
And they were a bunch of industry professionals that came into school and were like, this is what the music industry is. And to be honest, that totally changed my life. I was going to be a vet before this.
Yeah, it's like projects like that though. Like I have an interesting situation where I got a music scholarship, so I was at a private school, and because I had that side of stuff, then I didn't qualify for projects like Behind the Noise and stuff like that, because they just assumed that because I went to a private school then I would have all this income and stuff like that, which I think was frustrating at the end of the day. And it was just the fact that my school wouldn't back it, and I think it's about breaking down even just those like really like unneeded barriers, and also for schools like the school that I went to. I'm not going to name the school that I went to, but it'd be good to see them in places that do have the funding to kind of, not on a communist level, but get, like, say for example they were to run a music group at the weekend for people in the local community, because a lot of these schools are very well off, but the areas surrounding them are, say, not too well off. So I think it's about obviously getting young people and people who maybe like yourself initially didn't want a career in music to kind of turn it around.
Yeah, there's a thing in Stirling as well. Like Stirling's quite a well off area, but some of the surrounding areas aren't as well off, so they take kids from there and then put them in bands and stuff. Yeah,
I think there was a guy Kenny in Stirling that does that.
Yeah, he runs the venue.
Yeah, because he was my first guitar teacher back in the day.
Small world.
Small world, definitely.
Okay, so are there any acts in the music scene that you're keeping an eye on?
Scottish music scene or worldwide?
Well, Scottish first, then worldwide.
Scottish music scene, I would definitely say. I know I've kind of started playing with two of them. Like obviously, Bubba Trees, I've kind of started doing a bit of session work with them, but it's nice to see them progressing and really kind of like showing that maturity in their songwriting and maturity in their music. Obviously, like she was in White Novels for a lot of the live stuff that we're doing. Bethany's been absolutely fantastic, and now she's doing her stuff as Berta Kennedy, which is just absolutely brilliant. So it's one of these things that side of stuff is fantastic. I think like you've got so many that I could go on and on and on. But I think I tend to follow the ones that are maybe like not copying what other people are doing, or not maybe got the support that like studios are giving them, or record labels. Even like one of the bands that I completely love is Ghost Baby. They're like a Paisley band, and it's just that I remember you put on a gig with them. And what I love about a band like that is the fact that they don't take themselves too seriously. They're all really nice guys, but they're not trying to follow something or try and do something. Maybe they've got taken influence from like grungy bands or punk bands and stuff like that. But it's just the fact the uniqueness behind it, and you can go to a show and know it's not going to be like the show the night before or the night after.
Yeah, absolutely. What about worldwide? Is there anyone?
Yeah, worldwide, I supported a band called Clues, who are really good. They're an Australian band. It's like two twin sisters, and I think they got signed to Sony, but it's like a complicated one. They've been signed by Sony, been given the money, but maybe not taken off yet. But I think they're someone that within the next few years will start to kind of take off. Alfie Templeman is an interesting one. Like I started listening to his stuff a few years ago, and then now the fact that he's starting to take off, I'm like, yes, fantastic. And now I don't listen to him because he's too popular.
You're one of those, are you?
One of those? Nah, definitely not. It's also people like Alfie Templeman are kind of like an inspiration, because it's like young people who are starting to kind of make waves of music and breaking through from kind of nothing in a sense and doing stuff like out their bedroom. I know that's kind of it tends to be more of the norm now that people produce stuff themselves, but he had some really, really interesting and cool stuff on his first few albums and EPs. And like Briston Maroney as well. He's like, Chloe's nodding her head. There was like a song that he had called like Fool's Gold, which I'd like picked up on like after watching like an Audio 3 session or something like that, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. So yeah, acts like that.
Okay, good. I'll need to check them out.
Fantastic.
Okay, so last question is, where can people find you and your music? Just a little bit of shameless plugging.
You can find me on Buchanan Street, crying with my guitar, or outside Marks and Spencer's on Argyle Street. Yeah, you can find us on like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. You can ask your Alexa. You can be like, Alexa, play White Novels, and it'll go like that. Playing White Novels from Spotify. We're not on SoundCloud because we're not like Neddy or Bammy enough to put out an MC track. But like, yeah, kind of everywhere, just White Novels or White Novels UK, because on Facebook we were going to have just White Novels as our @ but unfortunately there's a Spanish book club called White Novels. And I messaged the guy and I was like, can we get your Facebook name? And he was like, no. So yeah. But I'd just like to add, this has been a very, very fun experience.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I've had such a lovely night with yourselves. There's obviously more people behind the camera as well. Chloe, yourself, Jess and Katie as well. It's just been absolutely fantastic, and it's good to actually just be out being involved in music.
Yeah, it's
again.
been too long.
And it's definitely like this like past couple of weeks has obviously been up and down in terms of music. For ourselves as a band, and for things that I won't go into. But yeah, definitely it's like getting that kind of spark again and the enjoyment for it, and just being out here and having laughs with friends has just been really, really nice. So just thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been lovely having you.
Thank you. And if I talk any longer, my mouth's going to get too dry. So, thank you.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Thank you very much.